Welcome to Tune Into the Voice of Truth with Rivionda podcast. We're diving deep today, really deep into a situation that's, well, it's pretty critical and honestly might not be on everyone's radar.
Definitely flying under the radar for most folks.
We're talking about what's happening over the Levant, specifically the Christian population in Syria, and how rapidly it's shrinking, like seriously shrinking.
Yeah, it's really concerning, a 2,000-year-old legacy potentially disappearing.
Exactly. We're looking at this article, The Vanishing Light.
The plight of Syria's Christians and the threat to a 2,000-year-old legacy really grabs your attention right off the bat.
That's the one. By Malkon Malkon. Just published today, March 25th, 2025, all the way from Sweden. And we want to get to the bottom of it, How bad is this decline? What's causing it?
Wars, extremism, displacement, you name it. It's a whole mess over there.
And the big question, the one this article throws out there, can this community, this light be saved? Can the world even do anything about it?
It's a heavy question for sure. And this article doesn't sugarcoat things.
Right, it makes it clear this is serious business, like really serious. But before we jump into the current crisis, I think it's important to understand just how long Christians have been in Syria.
Absolutely. They're not newcomers, not by a long shot. We're talking over 2,000 years. Deep roots.
Like since the very beginning of Christianity, deep.
Pretty much. I mean, think about it, Antioch. That's in modern-day Syria, right? That's where, according to tradition, followers of Jesus were first called Christians.
Wow, so they weren't just there, they were central. Okay, that makes it even more impactful. And this article, it stresses that they weren't just some isolated group either. They were interacting with other faiths, shaping the whole region. For centuries, they were making significant contributions.
Rich legacy, culturally, intellectually, politically, you name it. It's woven into the fabric of the place.
If this community were to disappear, what are some of the things, some specific examples of things we'd be losing?
Oh man, where to even begin? Well, on the intellectual side, early Christian scholarship from that region. Huge. They produced so many theological and philosophical texts, influenced both Eastern and Western thought.
Okay, so like big picture foundational stuff.
Definitely. Think about St. Ephrem the Syrian. His hymns, his writings, still studied and revered today, came right out of that tradition.
Wow. Okay, what else?
Architecturally, they left behind some incredible examples of early church design and construction. Those ancient churches and monasteries still dotting the landscape, amazing testaments to their skills and presence.
You can really see the tangible impact, the physical legacy there.
Absolutely. And then there's this element of tolerance and pluralism that the article kind of hints at. It's complex, sure, but historically diverse religious communities in Syria coexisted, and Christians often played this mediating role, champions of inclusive thought.
So not just buildings and books, but a whole way of being, a voice for understanding and coexistence, gone.
Exactly. We wouldn't just be losing a religious group, we'd be losing a unique voice that shaped Syrian culture, global culture, for centuries.
That's powerful, and it makes the decline we're talking about even more tragic. And speaking of decline, the article lays out some pretty shocking numbers.
Yeah, it's hard to fathom how much the population has changed.
Like, walk us through it, because it almost seems unbelievable given their history, their deep roots there.
All right, so get this. Centuries ago, historians estimate that Christians made up over 40% of Syria's population.
40%? That's huge.
Right. Fast forward to 1946, when the French mandate ended, it was down to about 20%.
Still significant, though.
Yeah, and then right before the Syrian civil war broke out in 2011, it was estimated to be between 8 and 10%.
Okay, so a gradual decline, but still a sizable presence.
Now hold on tight, because in 2024, they estimated it to be just 1%.
Wait, what? 1%? That's barely anything.
It's a catastrophic drop. And the article makes it clear this isn't just some slow societal shift. There are specific moments in history that have driven this decline.
Like those turning points, those big events that really accelerated things. What were some of those?
Well, World War I and the fall of the Ottoman Empire, that was a big one. Huge waves of migration started then, mainly to the Americas and Australia.
Makes sense. War, instability, people looking for a safer place.
Exactly. And sometimes there were pressures within the Ottoman Empire itself that pushed people to leave. But then the mid-20th century brought more turmoil, the 1963 Beyhath coup.
I remember learning about that, a major political shift.
And with it came socialist policies, land redistribution, nationalization. A lot of Christian landowners and business owners were hit pretty hard by that.
They lost their economic footing.
And many of them decided to emigrate, try to rebuild their lives somewhere else. So even before the current war, there was this push, this economic and political pressure to get out.
But it's clear that the Syrian civil war, starting in 2011, has been the real knockout punch. The article says 80% of Syria's Christians have fled since then.
It's a staggering number, absolutely devastating. And the article digs deeper, highlighting how this war has specifically targeted the Christian community.
Targeted by whom? The government. Rebel groups.
It's a complex situation, but extremist groups like ISIS, they've been absolutely brutal. Kidnappings, beheadings, horrific acts of violence. And then there's the destruction of churches.
Destroying their places of worship, their symbols of faith.
It's about erasing their presence, striking fear into their hearts. And the article has some truly disturbing numbers about this church destruction. Between 2011 and 2020, 126 documented attacks.
126 attacks in just 9 years. Yeah. Who's responsible for all this?
Well, the article cites data from the Syrian Network for Human Rights, and it breaks it down. The Syrian regime itself is actually linked to the most attacks, 76. Opposition factions are responsible for 33, ISIS for 10, and various other groups for the rest.
So basically, no matter who was in control, the churches weren't safe.
Exactly. It's a grim reality, and it shows just how vulnerable they were throughout the entire conflict.
And it's not just the churches, right? The article talks about entire cities, once vibrant centers of Christian life, now just ghosts of their former selves.
Absolutely. Aleppo, for example, a major city with a long Christian history. 2/3 of their families have vanished in just over a decade. Went from 37,000 Christians in 2010 to just 11,500.
That's heartbreaking. Imagine families torn apart, communities shattered. And it's not just Aleppo, right? This is happening all across Syria.
Yeah, the article paints this really poignant picture of displacement, both inside Syria and beyond its borders. Before the war, there were an estimated 1.5 million Christians in Syria. Now, by 2024, it's down to about 300,000.
300,000. It's
Yeah.
almost unimaginable.
I know, and think about those neighborhoods, the ones that used to be bustling with life, places like Damascus's Qasar, Latakia's American District, Aleppo's Aziza. Now they're mostly quiet, lots of abandoned homes, and the people who are left, they're mostly older folks who either can't afford to leave or are just too attached to their homes to even think about it.
It's like the soul of these communities is being ripped out. And it's more than just physical destruction. It's this deep cultural loss.
Mhm.
The article digs into the reasons behind this exodus, and it's not simple, right?
No, it's a web of interwoven factors. Religious persecution is a huge one, obviously. Extremist ideologies targeting minorities, creating a climate of fear.
Makes sense. When you're being targeted for your faith, your safety is paramount.
Right, and when you see kidnappings, killings, bombings of churches, it's understandable that people would want to find somewhere safer.
But it's not just about direct violence, is it? The article also talks about the economic collapse. How did that impact Christian communities specifically?
Well, the war devastated the Syrian economy. Poverty's rampant, unemployment's sky high, basic necessities are scarce. And we talked about how even before the war, socialist policies had kind of weakened the economic position of some Christians, particularly in land ownership and trade.
So they were already vulnerable, and then the war just made everything so much worse.
Exactly. Imagine being in that position, seeing no future for yourself, for your family. Immigration becomes less about choice and more about survival.
It's a desperate situation. And then there's the political instability, which has been a problem in Syria for a long time, hasn't it?
Oh, yeah. The Muslim Brotherhood's insurgency in the 80s, the rise of all these different Islamist factions during the war, it's been chaotic for decades. And for Christians, it often felt like they were caught in the crossfire.
Stuck between a rock and a hard place, no matter who's in charge.
Exactly. And that constant uncertainty, that lack of any kind of reliable security, it wears people down. It makes them want to find a place where they can just live in peace.
And the article mentions those past massacres, like the one in 1860. It's a reminder that this isn't the first time they've faced persecution.
Yeah, the trauma from those events, it runs deep. It lingers in the collective memory, and when violence flares up again, those memories resurface, amplifying the fear.
So it's like history repeating itself, and that's got to be terrifying.
Absolutely. The article acknowledges that Syrian Christians have a history of emigration, like there are over 15 million people of Syrian Christian descent in Latin America alone. But what's happening now, the scale of it, the speed of it, it's unprecedented.
It's like a mass exodus. And the article then hits us with these really alarming statistics. I mean, they just hammer home the urgency of this situation.
They're hard-hitting, for sure.
Yeah.
That 80% population decrease, that's from 1.5 million in 2011 to just 300,000 in 2024. Those 126 attacks on churches in just 9 years, many of them completely destroyed, that's deliberate and systematic. And the average age of Syria's remaining Christians is 47. What does that tell you?
That there aren't many young people left, that the future of the community is in jeopardy.
Exactly. And then you've got the loss of two-thirds of Christian families in Aleppo in just over a decade. It's a microcosm in what's happening across the country.
It's just tragic. And it's not just this one article sounding the alarm. The author cites Aid to the Church in Need, which says that Syria's Christians, one of the oldest continuous Christian communities in the world, are in danger of disappearing, like vanishing altogether.
Along with those other ancient communities in Iraq and Palestine, it's a disturbing trend.
And the article quotes the International Society for Human Rights. They predict that if things don't change, Christianity in Syria could be extinct by 2050.
Extinct in less than 25 years. It's a chilling thought.
And the article makes this point that the disappearance of Syria's Christians isn't just a Syrian problem, it's a loss for the whole world. Why is that?
Well, think about it. They've been a part of the Middle East's cultural and religious tapestry for centuries. They've been a bridge between cultures, a voice of moderation and pluralism. If they disappear, it's like losing a vital thread from that tapestry.
And the world becomes a little less diverse, a little less rich.
Exactly. Their story is woven into the history of Syria, of the Middle East, of the world. Losing them would be a tragedy, not just for Syria, but for humanity.
So what can be done? The article does offer some solutions, right?
It does. It suggests a multi-pronged approach. First, robust international support, humanitarian aid, protection programs to stabilize those areas where Christians are still living.
Okay, so immediate aid to help those who are still there. What else?
Rebuilding is crucial, not just homes and infrastructure, but churches, schools, community centers. Create an environment where people can come back, rebuild their lives.
So it's not just about survival, it's about revival. What about the long term?
That's where democratic reforms come in, creating a truly secular and inclusive Syria, one that guarantees equal rights and religious freedom for everyone. That's the only way to ensure a safe and sustainable future for Christians in their ancestral homeland.
So it's about changing the system, the very foundation of the state.
Absolutely. And the article mentions this report from Human Rights Without Frontiers in Brussels. It basically says that the only way to reverse this trend is through deliberate, well-defined, and consistently implemented policies. There needs to be a real commitment to change.
It's a tall order, for sure. So let's bring it all back around. The situation for Syria's Christian community, it's dire. Their history, their culture, their very existence is hanging by a thread. They've faced war, extremism, displacement, and their numbers have dwindled to a point that's almost impossible to comprehend. We started by asking whether this fading light can be rescued. What are your final thoughts on that question?
Well, based on this article, and honestly just looking at the situation, it's clear that the answer lies in action. Urgent action, and on the multiple fronts. Humanitarian aid, rebuilding efforts, political reforms, it's a big ask. But without those things, the future looks bleak.
And the potential loss, the cultural, historical, and human loss, it's staggering. And as we wrap up this deep dive, we want to leave you, our listener, with something to think about. This idea of responsibility. What is our collective responsibility as global citizens to protect cultural and religious diversity, especially in the face of conflict and extremism? What can we do as individuals, as members of organizations, as citizens of nations, to ensure that ancient communities like Syria's Christians are not forgotten, that their light isn't extinguished? It's a heavy question, but it's one worth wrestling with.